Good afternoon, everyone, or morning for those who are not on the East Coast, and welcome to our first Equipment Watch quarterly webinar. I am your host, Josh Crow, Senior Account Manager for Equipment Watch, and today's webinar is designed to give you a clear look at what's new at Equipment Watch and Fusible, and more importantly, why those updates matter. I want to take a brief moment to explain where Equipment Watch fits in within the larger Fusible organization. Equipment Watch is part of Fusible, a connected ecosystem of digital data, marketing, and media brands built to help industrial and transportation markets make better decisions using trusted intelligence. What that means in practical terms is this. Fusible brings together several well-established brands that support different industries and use cases, from equipment valuations and ownership costs, to inventory intelligence, to risk and safety analysis, to market insight and verified business data. For Equipment Watch clients, this is important because it has a continued investment in the products and the data that you rely on. It also strengthens the infrastructure behind the work, from how we manage data quality, to how we deliver updates, to how we build tools that are easier to use and more connected over time. Fusible also includes media brands like Equipment World that help keep customers informed about what's happening in the market, so you're not just reacting to changes, but staying ahead of them. So when you work with Equipment Watch, you're backed by a broader organization focused on one goal, helping you make decisions with confidence, using intelligence that's current, defensible, and built for the real world. At Equipment Watch, we take our work seriously because we know that the decisions you make with this information have real impact. When you're setting internal charge rates or calculating cost recovery, there's no room for guesses. Estimating your operating cost doesn't skew your budget, it directly erodes your project margins. Ownership and operating costs shouldn't be based on opinions or outdated spreadsheets. They need to be grounded in data, consistency, and sound methodology. And that's why we approach what we do as a science, not as an art. We solve the challenge of accurately capturing the true cost of every hour an asset spends on the job. By using Equipment Watch, you eliminate the risk of under-recovering expenses and ensure that your internal rates are both competitive for bidding and high enough to fund your next fleet replacement. We provide the reliable benchmarks you need to justify those rates to project stakeholders and accounting teams. We're always refining our process, validating our inputs, and making updates to ensure our data stays accurate, credible, and current in a changing market. This session is meant to give you a peek behind the curtain. We want you to hear directly from the experts who work on our products, our data, and our marketing insights every day. Our goal is to help you understand what's changed and what we're seeing across the industry and what it may mean for your team moving forward. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. First, we'll hear from our Chief Revenue Officer, Paul McConville, on what's happening at Fusible. We'll then head over to James Hamilton for a quick overview of product updates. After that, Molly Mooney will walk us through the most recent cost recovery update. And finally, we'll round out the webinar with a state of the industry view from Equipment World's Jordan Waldschmidt. And before we jump into the individual presentations, I want to level set what today is really about. This webinar is designed to give you a clear picture of what's changing across our tools, our data, and the industry, and why those changes matter in real-world decisions. You'll walk away with practical product updates you can use immediately, a summary of the latest quarterly cost recovery changes, and a broader industry outlook to help you plan for 2026. You'll also hear how Fusible is continuing to invest in Equipment Watch, not just as a data provider, but as an insights partner built to help you move faster and make decisions you can stand behind. And I always like to start with something fun, so let's talk free Carhartt gear. Everyone here who has registered and joined us will be automatically entered into the giveaway we're having, so one of you is going to receive some free gear. After the webinar today, we'll throw everyone's name in a hat and draw out a winner, and we'll let you know via email who won, and from there we'll send out your new Carhartt gear. So with that, let's get into today's content. I'd first like to welcome Paul McConville, Chief Revenue Officer at Fusible, who brings more than 15 years of executive leadership experience scaling high-growth SaaS and data-driven businesses across construction, agriculture, and transportation. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Josh. And I would look good in some Carhartt gear, but I guess I'm not eligible for that. Welcome, everyone. As Josh mentioned, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Fusible. In this role, I'm responsible for the health and satisfaction of all of our nearly 10,000 clients, as well as growing our reach and impact in the markets that we serve. Your success is vital to my success and to that of our Equipment Watch team and all of our Fusible staff. We hope that today signals a more deliberate process of keeping you informed of our progress in product development, data development, and market insight. We also want to improve our ability to listen and learn from you and to start a more regular cadence of engagement. We're glad you're here for our first quarterly Equipment Watch webinar. But today's not just about updates, it's about helping you stay informed and confident in a market that continues to shift. Whether you're here to understand the latest cost recovery rates, keep up with the changes to our data and products, or take in the broader implication of what's happening in the construction economy, our purpose is the same: deliver data and insights that help you make decisions with clarity. Most importantly, we don't do this in a vacuum. Our best improvements come from conversations like this. Hear your questions, get your feedback, hear your real world cases. So we encourage you to stay engaged throughout today's session and bring your questions to the Q&A at the end. So thank you again for being here, for being a client, and for your interest in Equipment Watch.
Thank you, Paul. I'm sure some of you will have questions for Paul about Fusible's exciting future, so feel free to drop them in the chat, and if we get a chance at the end to answer them, we will. And now that we've seen the high-level vision, let's look at how we're evolving the specific tools that you use every day. Next we'll hear from James Hamilton, Product Manager at Fusible, who will detail some recent product updates.
Thanks, Josh, and hello, everyone. I'm James Hamilton, Senior Product Manager at Fusible. Before I jump into the update itself, I want to quickly share why we're highlighting product improvements in these quarterly webinars. A big part of what keeps Equipment Watch valuable isn't just the data that is current and defensible. It's that the product experience keeps getting easier, faster, and more intuitive to use. And most of that progress starts the same way. We listen. We collect feedback from our customers, our internal teams, and the users in the field. We look for patterns. Where are people losing time? Where are they having to click too much? Where are they doing manual work that the product should be doing for them? And for those of you who are newer to Equipment Watch, this is also a peek behind the curtain. It's a look at how we build. We prioritize improvements that make your day-to-day work easier, and we focus on features that help you move from information to action faster. So today's update is a great example of that. We've enhanced the serial number detail view. So now that it includes sortable and searchable columns, this gives you more control when you're working through serial number information, especially when you're reviewing long lists or trying to find one specific detail quickly. So here are the 3 practical benefits from this update. First is the quick search. You'll see it's there and to the right, kind of upper right-hand corner of where the serial numbers are listed. With the quick search now, you can instantly find the information you need without scrolling through long lists. As any of you who work with the serial numbers know that many assets can have lists or ranges of hundreds long in those ranges. And so now you can use this quick search to type in what you're looking for. You can use a partial prefix. You can use a model number. You can use a partial serial number. You can use the country of origin and also the year. So you could even do a combination of those in there. So you could type in Brazil 2021 and it would automatically filter to those. So it can searches across all those columns. So very useful. The second thing is the custom sorting. So you can organize all the columns based on what matters to you, which makes it easier to compare, review, and analyze the details faster. So these columns are all, you can ascend or descend them in the way you want to. And then that just leads to overall improved usability. Overall, this creates a more streamlined experience, fewer clicks, less hunting, and a clearer path to insight you're looking for. This might feel like a small update, but it's one of those improvements that makes a real difference over time because it reduces friction in the workflow and helps teams move faster when the decisions are time sensitive. And that's the standard we try to hold ourselves to. Product changes that are not just new, but genuinely useful.
Thank you, James. Yeah, it's great to see how we're making the serial number detail view more intuitive and easier to navigate, but as we all know, a powerful tool is only as good as the data behind it. So to walk us through the fuel that powers those tools, including the latest quarterly shifts in fuel, electric, and labor costs, I'd like to introduce our Manager of Data Analytics, Molly Mooney.
Thank you, Josh. I'm excited to walk you all through some of the data updates that were a part of the Q1 cost revision released at the start of this month. Cost recovery rates are recalculated each quarter with updated economic factors, pricing, and cost factor improvements. For context, our cost recovery tool, the Rental Rate Blue Book, is designed to provide a neutral third-party hourly rate for equipment reimbursement. It combines ownership costs, such as depreciation and major overhauls, with operating costs like fuel and field repairs to ensure our customers have a legally and contractually defensible rate for their projects. A summary of changes is shared with customers after each release. Today, we'll go over some of the highlights of the most recent cost revision. In the Q1 update, we saw a small increase in average price of diesel, which is now at $3.83. Average gasoline and electric prices decreased slightly to $3.06 and 19 cents, respectively. We added a total of 97 new models in this update, including the Deere 700L LGP, Deere 700 XLT, Miller Electric Bobcat 250, Caterpillar D2, Caterpillar 275, and multiple Hitachi Zaxis models. We also added cost factors for crawler-mounted hydraulic cranes, with 23 models now having cost recovery rates. We continue to conduct audits on economic life and annual use hours. We increased annual use hours for self-propelled pavement brooms. Economic life and annual use hours were increased for crawler-mounted chain trenchers, wheel-mounted chain trenchers, and portable rotary screw air compressors. We also had some taxonomy changes that required cost factor updates. The 5 metric ton and over telehandler size class was broken into 8 new size classes. The largest size class is now 35.51 metric tons and over. The cutoffs for the smaller size classes were adjusted as well, and models may have shifted to different size classes with different cost factors, resulting in rate changes. The handheld rammers subtype was broken into 7 new size classes. The new size classes have the same cost factors, though, so there should not be any impact on the cost rates. We reviewed overhaul and field repair labor hours for several subtypes as well. Overhaul labor hours were increased for crawler-mounted hydraulic excavators to correct previous drops and bring them in line with customer feedback and research. We are continuing to review these values, and further increases may be coming in the future. The overhaul and field repair labor hours were reduced for 2 size classes within the electric self-propelled scissor lift subtype to bring the 2 size classes in line with the rest of that subtype. There are a few other important data changes to note in this update. Several models were moved to correct size classes, which changes the cost factors applied and may result in rate changes. Original price was increased 10% for all miscellaneous on-highway rear dumps. This is an initial step in moving towards accurate pricing for these models. We'll be continuing to review and update the pricing in the coming quarterly updates. The producer price index for the Bureau of Labor Statistics was delayed. They just released the numbers for October and November earlier this month. We expect rate adjustments in the equipment price index to be updated by the end of this month. Lastly, in an effort to make it easier to search for trucks, we have hidden light-duty trucks that were discontinued at least 40 years ago from being searchable. We plan to evaluate and hide trucks that were discontinued between 30 to 40 years ago in the coming months. And that concludes the data updates that I have for you all today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly. These quarterly data shifts in fuel, electric, and labor hours aren't just isolated numbers. They are real-world symptoms of a shifting economy. And to understand the why behind these trends and what else is on the horizon for 2026, I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker. I saw her give a similar update recently, and it was just chock full of good information. Jordan Waldschmidt is the chief editor of Equipment World and an award-winning construction industry journalist with deep experience covering contractors, OEMs, and dealers. Take it away, Jordan.
All right, thanks, Josh. At Equipment World, we cover the latest construction equipment and technology, along with a deep analysis of the issues shaping the industry. So today we're going to do a little bit of future casting for you, looking at what the year ahead may hold, from economic and political forces to the technology trends that will influence productivity and safety on job sites. We hope these highlights will help you get a clear view of where demand is growing to effectively plan your projects, fleets, and workforce strategies in the year ahead. And with that, let's dive in. As we sit here at the end of January, the construction industry seems to be facing a familiar future, and that's one of uncertainty. While the U.S. economy is predicted to grow modestly in 2026, interest rates, inflation, rising material costs, and labor shortages will continue to challenge contractors. Residential construction is presenting a mixed picture. Housing shortages persist, but those high interest rates are continuing to keep many buyers on the sidelines. Policy initiatives like the October 2025 Road to Housing Act aim to help communities expand supply, and meanwhile, municipalities are exploring creative solutions such as accessory dwelling units and office to residential conversions to meet demand. Recent data suggests that residential housing growth in the year ahead is expected to be modest, with single-family starts showing slight month-to-month gains, but overall activity down compared with last year, while multifamily construction is going to remain more uneven. The big takeaway here is demand is strong, but financing and affordability continue to limit how much construction can move forward. The Federal Reserve is expected to cut rates again this year, but the timing and number of those cuts are being heavily scrutinized by analysts due to stronger than expected December jobs reports. A potential new Fed appointment under the Trump administration could also influence future policy, with some expecting a push for quicker cuts. Either way, it looks like those 6% mortgage rates are going to be hanging on for the near future and continuing to put strain on the market. Now, turning to commercial construction, the landscape is a little bit more mixed than last year. Some recent survey data from AGC and Sage Policy Group just came out, and it's showing that there's some pockets of optimism, but overall sentiment has softened across multiple market segments. Private sector growth is expected in data centers, power generation, and healthcare, including hospitals. Water and sewer projects, transportation, manufacturing, and highway and bridge work should also contribute, though growth is going to be a little bit more modest in those segments than in 2025. Meanwhile, outlooks for warehouses, federal projects, multifamily, lodging, K-12 schools, and higher education have weakened, and retail and private office construction are expected to decline further. Key headwinds include economic uncertainty, labor shortages, rising wages, material costs, and trade policy risks. More than 60% of firms are reporting projects have been delayed or scaled back due to workforce availability, and rising wages can continue to challenge margins. Rising material costs, driven largely by tariffs, are also a top concern in 2026, forcing many to raise bid prices, pass costs on to owners, or accelerate purchases, highlighting the greater need for price certainty in the market. Despite these pressures, though, nearly 2/5 of firms report larger backlogs than last year, and most are expected to hire in 2026, while also increasing investments in AI and technology to improve efficiency. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit more time on AI and data centers, as those are really standing out as a major growth driver for the market. Economists are always cautious about looking too far ahead, but AI does appear to be a boom with real staying power. There's been a lot of debate about whether this is a bubble or not, but from a construction standpoint, we think that data center work looks very solid for 2026. These projects are massive, and once they begin, they tend to carry forward, and that means activity is likely to extend into 2027 as well. Even if the pace of new announcements slows, there's already a substantial pipeline of work underway. Many construction firms are also turning to AI internally to streamline workflows, improve planning, and make better use of their limited resources. Now, what this tells us is AI is really playing a dual role in construction today. It's driving demand on the project side while also reshaping how firms are operating day to day. The bottom line is commercial construction in 2026 offers real opportunities, but success is going to depend on disciplined cost management, smart staffing, strategic technology adoption, especially in those regional hot zones with multiple mega projects going on and data centers. Contractors who protect their margins, manage resources carefully, and value their workforce will be best positioned to navigate a mixed market while capitalizing on those pockets of growth. I also wanted to spend a little bit of time on one of my favorite topics, which is equipment and tech. And to further understand where the industry is headed, Equipment World recently spoke with more than a dozen construction equipment manufacturer executives about their priorities for the year. What stood out most in those conversations wasn't short-term economic forecasting. It was really how clearly manufacturers are aligning around equipment design, technology investment, and operator-focused innovation. Across the board, compact to mid-size equipment such as track loaders, skid steers, excavators, wheel loaders, and telehandlers are all gaining momentum. These machines are being designed for versatility, intuitive operation, and enhanced safety. Modular platforms, attachments, and multifunction capabilities are enabling contractors to do more with fewer operators and less equipment. And from a technology standpoint, manufacturers are also investing heavily in automation, AI-driven machine assistance, advanced sensing and camera systems, and machine control technologies. And the goal is very consistent. It's to make this equipment easier to learn, more precise to operate, and safer on increasingly complex job sites. Telematics and connectivity continue to expand as well, supporting remote diagnostics, fleet management, predictive maintenance, and data-driven decision-making. And electric and hybrid powertrains are also gaining traction where regulations and job site requirements make sense. That wraps up my portion of today's presentation. The key takeaway being, no matter what sector you work in, 2026 will be a challenge for contractors to manage costs, leverage technology, and maximize workforce efficiency, but it also offers real opportunities for those who are prepared to adapt. You can stay on top of all of these trends by subscribing to Equipment World's daily or weekly newsletters or following us on social media. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Josh, who will lead our Q&A discussion.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. And now on to Q&A. So we've allotted some time at the end here to answer some of the questions that have been submitted. We've had some people in the background reviewing what's coming in. So let's see. I think, yeah. So this first question, Paul, I think this first question would be good for you. How does Equipment Watch react to feedback from clients? We've been a client for years and would like to know that our observations or feedback about the rates and the website are being acted on.
Well, thank you for the question. Yes. Not only do we listen, but we learn from it. And I think, but we need to be more deliberate to all of you about this. We recently launched a voice of the customer process, and we're leaning far more into getting your feedback. And we want your feedback. I'd love to hear your stories of how you're using Equipment Watch to make decisions in your business. I've tasked our account management team, who you guys work with frequently, to spend time with you, listen, learn, better define, and then document your feedback. And I'd say, like this webinar, we also need to be more deliberate at sharing what we're doing with your feedback. We're improving our product, we're enhancing our data. This customer feedback process has already helped us reduce the time going from discovering bugs to documenting and triaging them. We've got more frequent patches and updates. It's also helping us to identify aspects of our model coverage, which are most important to you guys, and you're asking us to expand on, so that all of our data is more relative to what you're trying to do. Please keep sharing your feedback. And if any of you want to share feedback about our team or your needs of us, you can reach me directly. First name, last name, so Paul McConville, no dot in there, Paul McConville at fusible.com. I don't have an AI generated anything on my email, so if you email me, I will both read it and respond to you. But keep giving us feedback. We greatly appreciate it. And as I said, we need to make sure you know what we're doing with it far more frequently.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. This next one would be good for Molly. Do you publish the list of new equipment each quarter?
Yes. So a quarterly newsletter goes out after the quarter that has a high-level overview of all of the changes, similar to what I covered today. And included in that is a link to a list of those models that were added. I don't know if there's a way to go directly to that, but there is a newsletter that goes out.
Okay, wonderful. And then let's see. This one also for you, Molly. Is there any data available on marine construction equipment?
I do not know off the top of my head for that one. I know we added some barges and some amphibious vehicles, I believe last year. But that is certainly something we can look into if we don't already have it.
Okay, excellent.
I unfortunately don't have all of the taxonomy memorized.
Of course not. I will say on that note, for anyone who is listening who is a current client, questions like that, if there are specific things that you are looking for that we're not providing, that's a great conversation to have with your dedicated account manager. I'm on that team, and we really take that feedback to heart. So, and we work closely with Molly's team. And let's see, I think this next question, Jordan, this one would be for you. With OEMs investing heavily in AI and automation, what do you think will be the biggest barrier to adoption?
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, that's a good question. I think cost always continues to be a big part of that equation, especially in a year when margins are tight and financing remains expensive. But what we're hearing from both contractors and OEMs is that the real challenge isn't just buying the technology, it's integrating it into your day-to-day operations. And that really takes buy-in from the top down, and not just one, but multiple technology champions on the team. Because if crews aren't trained and not confident, even the most advanced systems won't deliver on their full value. Contractors also need to believe that these tools are reliable and safe and actually make their jobs easier rather than adding complexity. And that's why a lot of OEMs are focusing less on full autonomy right now and more on those assistive technologies, things like machine control, automated settings, vision and camera systems, and AI assistants that support the operator instead of replacing them. I think one of the coolest things that we've seen recently came out of CES. Both Cat and Bobcat have rolled out AI assistants where you can literally just say, "Hey, Cat, I'm working near a power line. Can you please set the e-ceiling to 13 feet?" And the machine will automatically change that setting. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. We're living in a very cool time for technology where we're going to see lots of rapid changes, those costs coming down. That's going to make them easily adoptable by contractors. And we'll definitely have a lot of more information coming out of ConExpo, ConAg here in just a couple of weeks. So we will be on top of all of that for you guys to learn more.
Okay, wonderful. Keeping an eye on the time, I know we're almost up. So as we close out, I just want to leave you with one simple takeaway. Today wasn't just a set of updates. It's a clearer view of what's changing and what to do next. So you heard the latest product enhancements designed to improve workflow and usability. You saw the most recent cost recovery movement and what that means for your estimates. And you heard industry context that can help you plan with more confidence heading into 2026. So that's what we aim to deliver through Equipment Watch and Fusible, not just information, but insights that you can act on. If you're already working with us, we hope this session helps you get even more value from your tools and stay aligned with the latest quarterly update. And if you're exploring Equipment Watch for the first time, we hope you saw the drive behind our approach and the strength of the intelligence that we provide. And no matter whether you're coming in from a client or prospective client, we'd love to continue the conversation. Clients can connect with their reps to make sure teams are getting full value from the latest update. Or if you're exploring Equipment Watch, we'd also be happy to walk you through your use case and show you what this looks like in your own workflow. So as a quick reminder, thank you again for joining. We'll follow up with the Carhartt gift pack winner shortly after the session. And if you have the time, we'd like to ask you to fill out a short survey to let us know what you think about today's webinar. You should see the survey pop up on your screen here in just a second. And we'll use the insights from this survey to improve future webinars whenever we have another one on the calendar. And all of us here at Fusible, thank you for spending some time with us today and learning about updates to Equipment Watch.
And Josh, just a quick one.
Mhm.
I see that we had given time, a lot of questions. It was great to see them come in. We didn't answer all of them, so if we can capture those, many of them have names associated, so we can pass those off to our account management team, and let's make sure we get answers to all of these back out. Right?
Absolutely. We'll distribute those and we'll get
Great.
back to those people for sure.
Good to see everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll send the recording and slides out after the webinar along with support links and an option to schedule a follow-up if that's helpful. And thank you for joining us.